it's Laura and welcome to my channel. Today is a tutorial day and I'm going to be showing you how to make a nice simple cluster style ring. I'm going to show you just here. There we go. That's the ring that you'll be learning to make. Show you it completely. All the way around. It's a nice, I would say, beginner style technique. It's not a very difficult technique to learn. I think I've used pink tourmaline in this particular sample. I mean, it gives a really lovely kind of cluster effect. It looks just like gemstones have been crushed and kind of put on your hand. I just think it's a beautiful ring. You can create different looks using different types of gemstones or using different shapes, different sizes, maybe some Swarovski crystals, mix it up, you know. But there you go, that's what we're going to be learning today. We're going to be learning from start to finish how to create this lovely cluster style ring. So let's go. Okay, so let's get started. So for this project we're going to need some 0.8 wire. We're going to need some small chips or rondelles, whatever you're going to use. I'm going to use a little bit of 0.315, although you could use 0.4 as well. And the tools that we'll need will be a ring mandrel, pair of flush cutters, some chain nose or snipe nose pliers, and some round nose pliers. Okay, so let's go. What I want is to take a length of my 0.8 wire. I don't need a massively long length. I just need long enough that's going to be able to create my ring and a support for the gemstones. So I'm probably going to have approximately probably about 60 centimeters or so. Okay, just over half of a meter. And what I'm going to do is find a center point, bring that together, take my ring mandrel, place this into that center point, let those wires cross. Now what I want to do is find the size that I want, and I want to go about one size larger than the size I intend to finish with. So I'm going to go for about an O. This is a very well used ring mandrel, so the markings are a bit faint, but I can see that around about here is an O. In the US, I believe that's about 7 to 9, I think. Okay, so wires go across, and then I'm going to let them cross over just here. Placing my thumb in the center, I'm going to take the top wire, bring that all the way over, catch that. Take that bottom wire, bring that all the way over and catch that. Okay, so from the front you'll have that effect where you have two in the center, one in each direction. Turn the piece over and you'll have 3 wires. Now those wires are separated, but they will become bunched together when we start working on a design. Another top tip that you'll notice is that when you do this, if you let it go, can you see how it's dropped down? Because obviously the wire has a natural memory and that will open and spring out. So what I'm going to do is go back to that size that I know I want, reposition this exactly where I want it to be. Where have you gone? So about here, and just pull those wires nice and tight and re-secure them, and then I can also make sure that they stay close together. Tighten them back up and hold them back where they are. So I'm just holding them in place by the side here. Sorry about my nails. My nail polish chipped, which is ridiculous as it's gel nails, but there you go. It happened. So I'm holding this like this, and I'm holding the front and the back so that it won't go anywhere. Now what I'm going to do is take what to me is the bottom wire. So this is the bottom wire. This one here is going across the top. So if I open it up, you'll see what I mean by that. Now this is just for me, I'm right-handed. I find this an easiest way to work. I'm going to take the bottom wire and I'm going to bring it up and all the way around, still holding it nice and tight in place with my thumb. When I remove my thumb, you get that. So I'm then going to use my finger just to hold that in place and bring the top wire down. So I'm starting to lock it into place. Check that you don't drop away from your size, that you stick to the size you were going for, the one size up size. Thumb back in place, take that top wire and rotate it all the way around so it's meeting this wire just here. I'm then going to again, so I'm just going to keep switching my hand and switching wires and bringing them around to create a nice spiral. So I want an open spiral because I'm going to use this to stitch my gemstones into. So can you see? Okay, and again I'm just going to bring that all the way around, keeping it quite open. I want there to be gaps in amongst that sort of spiraling. Okay, now the size that you do this is up to you, depends how big you want the cluster to be. Okay, and so as I'm going around, I'm just letting it open out a little bit so that I'm getting sort of little channels that I can use then to sort of stitch the gemstones into. Okay, I think I'm going to just do probably one more rotation around to here so that I have a wire on each side. So can you see that? One in this direction, one in this direction. So when I remove it from the ring mandrel, this is what you're going to have. I haven't done anything other than wrap it around the ring mandrel and spiral it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is take the tail wire here and I'm just going to feed that around. And you can see how I'm holding my finger and my thumb nice and securely, keeping it all nice and close as it should be. Take my pliers and just wrap that. Now come in with your pliers and just make sure that the ring shank itself stays nice and as it should do. Okay, then I'm going to come back over to this side and I'm going to do the same again with this side. So relaxing so it doesn't pull too tight. Bring that all the way around. Make sure that this doesn't get distorted. I can run my pliers around it, make sure it stays nice and close together. And I'm just going to squeeze that shut there. Now I could leave it like that, or if I wanted it a little bit bigger and extra security, I could come back over to this side with this one and over to this side with this one. Okay, but that's optional. Okay, and if I was going to do that, what I've done is I've just given extra support to it as I've gone around. So I can bring that in, bring that around, and then just wrap that wire there. Same on the opposite side. Wrap that wire there. So you can see, and if I'm happy with that, obviously this is going to be hidden, so I'm not too worried about what it looks like, but it is going to be visible from the back, so it is quite nice to have it tidy. Okay, so that's your actual spiral all the way around. Oops, there we go, to there. Now what I'm going to do is just cut these tail wires. I don't need them now. If you've got enough to wrap around one more time, then just for niceness, it will look nice just to have one more wrap. Now, when I pull that really tight, can you see how it's made? Can you see? Sorry. Can you see how it's made these wires kind of buckle? So again, I'm going to come in and flatten that and almost pinch the wire. Okay, then I'm going to come in with my, so you can see, come on. Okay, so you can see that there, and I'm going to come in with my flush cutters parallel along with that wire just there. Just going to snip that wire so it's going straight across, and again I'm just going to come and tidy. I'm almost going to flatten all of that so that these wires flatten back out. Okay, now the beauty of working with bare copper or sterling silver is that it's very easy to kind of push that wire in and it blends in. There's no sharp edges at all, but just taking your pliers, it's giving that a little sort of crunch as such, that'll get rid of that edge. Over to the opposite side and repeat, because you do want it to look symmetrical. Okay, so just going to come in with this. Now you'll see already that this is reduced, this ring shank's reduced a lot. Okay, run your fingers along and make sure it's not got any sharp edges. Take your ring mandrel, come back. Now if I pop that on there, can you see how much it's reduced? It's like down to a size K. But it's easy, just pop your hand on, and what I'm doing is I'm just holding the ring with my hand, twisting the ring mandrel. That's going to, sorry, make that a little bit larger for me. Okay, so that's going to hopefully take it down to about an N, because we started with an O, so I wanted to aim for about an N. So there's the O just there. So we're just shy an MN, so just shy of one. So just bear with me a second. So I'm just trying to, I can't do this in front of the camera and get a good twist on it, so I'm going to turn that around, and there you go. You can see it's gone down a lot further on that ring mandrel. It has gone a little bit short of an N, sort of in between the M and N. M and N. So if that's the situation, then maybe go up 2 sizes, but there you have that ring just there. And then all we're going to do is simply take a long length of our point, either 0.4 or 0.315, either doesn't, they'll both work just as effectively. Just finding the end a moment of my 0.315. I'm just using the 315 just because I happen to have it here, and it's just saves me hunting for some 0.4, to be honest. 0.4 is probably preferable because it's a little bit heavier, so it's a little bit stronger. However, that being said, 0.315 is strong, and it will hold the gemstone, and it will go through probably a little bit more than maybe a 0.4 will. But I wouldn't recommend this with a 0.25, only a 3.15 and upwards, sorry. So what I'm going to do is take my gemstones, so I'm just getting a little cluster of them just here. Okay, I'm going to start off with one, feed it onto the wire. And this is what I'm saying about a finer gauge is better, because it'll go on the fine wires. I'm going to bring it to roughly the sort of centre, and what I've done is I've cut a long length of wire, probably about, oh, let's be realistic, about 2.5 meters of wire. I probably have far too much, but hey, there you go. What I'm going to do is I've taken that chip to the centre of the wires, got both the ends of the 0.315, and I'm just going to feed it through from the front towards the back of that spiral. So you'll see, and that will lock that chip into place. And then what I'll be able to do is split these wires into 2. Oops, sorry. So one there and one there. And then what I would do is feed my wire back up through a gap. So I'm just working from one piece of wire at a time. And then I'm just going to keep adding the chips on and filling up all that space, really. So there's one added. And then pop it back down through another gap so it hooks it. So you can see that there. And then bring that wire back up again through another gap again. Same gap's fine, as long as it's hooking around something. So as long as it's got one of these sort of rings of wire to hook around, then that's fine. Now if you've got a really, like the chips that I'm using at the moment are really, really fine shards. This is pink tourmaline, absolutely beautiful gemstone, but really, 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 really tiny shards. So I've put 3 on there, because otherwise you're going to be there forever, and you get just as good an effect if you put a couple on. And then again, making sure that you're able to hook that through. Oopsie. Where are you? And then that's going to fill that gap, and you can start to position it so you can see. Okay, can you see that? Come on. There you go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and continue filling this in. Okay, everyone, I'm just going to do a quick check-in. So you can see I've just been continuing around, and because these are really tiny shards, I've been kind of putting about 3 on each time. and then just bringing them around, and then I'm going to just kind of scoot it all together to get an idea of how it's looking, really. Hopefully you can see that. I'm still working on that same piece of wire, so this one I haven't used yet, and I'm just going around, and I will, excuse you motorbike, just going around, and I will continue to fill that gap in until you get that really lovely clustered look. Okay, so as you'll see here, I've continued going around, and it's starting to fill in and take shape. Can you see that? So as you can see, I've continued to fill that in, and you've got a really lovely cluster effect. Hopefully that's coming across clearly. Maybe we can get the camera to focus. There we go. Now if I look closely, you can still see little flashes of the rings of the support. To show you the back, that's how we're looking on the back. I will say that I haven't gone into this second piece of wire, so you know, that's just me being overestimating, and I will probably still got loads left on the other side, so I think I could easily cut that spare piece, but we'll do the finishing off in a moment. I'm just going to continue to just fill this in just a tiny little bit more, just to hide those flashes of wire. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I filled that right in, so I'm happy with that now. I just think it looks lovely, like a lovely cluster of druzy almost with this particular gemstone chip. Hopefully you can see that. Can you? Oops, sorry. Just get that so you can actually see it properly. It's just... What do you think? I just think it looks really pretty. It just looks like a lovely sort of cluster of geodes almost, doesn't it? Okay, so I've got the two wires at the back, as I said. I've got the one that I didn't need to really use, and then I've got the other one, which was the one I've been using to stitch everything on. So what I'm going to do is trim these down to probably a couple of inches, because I don't need that wire anymore. Move that to the side. And obviously, if you were to try this with bigger gemstones, bigger chips, the look would be different. This particular one lends itself beautifully to looking like a cluster of geodes, but you know, if you were to use like a bigger gemstone, it's going to look different completely. You could use pearls and have a burst of pearls. You can use round gemstones, whatever you want. Okay, but this is just with this one. I love this effect. Okay, so I've got the two ends of wire just here. So what I'm going to do is bring that around into just around one of these sort of rings. Hang on, I'll just let it focus in. There we go. So just around that outer ring on, in this case, with this wire once and twice. And then I'm going to cut that wire to the front. Tiny little smidge of a tail there. And then fold that into the front of your work so it just disappears in amongst those sort of gemstones. And then again over here. This also looks lovely with... like Swarovski crystals, you know, like loads of sparkle, lots of bling. Exactly the same, just doing it to the side with the opposite wire. Just wrap that a couple of times, bring that around. I'm really sorry about my dodgy nail polish there. I'm really annoyed. And pop that back. There is your finished ring, complete, ready to go. That's it from the back. So I think it looks nice. Even from the back, I think it looks nice. There is it on your hand. What do you think? Do you like this ring? Do you like this tutorial? Hopefully do. I definitely think it's an easy tutorial that is achievable of any kind of skill level, really. You know, all you need is some 0.8 wire, some 0.315 or 0.4, and some lovely gemstones or some lovely Swarovskis. Have a play, see what happens. Anyway, as always, please comment down below if there's anything in particular you want to see, if there's anything you want to ask me. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please click subscribe, and yeah, have a great day.